this video, we're going to be talking about quick table calculations, and you've actually already done one called the percent of total. We're going to do two of the other ones, which are running total and moving average. So let's begin. What I've actually done is I've closed the previous Tableau Public dashboard and sheets and all that kind of stuff, and I'm starting fresh. This is to give you practice to connecting to data and using the load screen and the data source screen. So let's take that file. I'm going to drag and drop anywhere in here. There we go. And we have, again, our Excel data in table form. We have our data types. We've got our field headings. We've got the sheet that we are analyzing, and that sheet can be brought in from here. And that sheet comes from the Excel file that we have connected to. Once we are happy with that, we pretty much go down here and click on sheet 1, and we're ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is a running total. This is probably one of the most common types of calculations. In Microsoft Excel, for example, you have to physically write the calculation and then do it. Tableau is way easier. It's an inbuilt function. One click and then the whole thing's done. So let's start with a date type of visualization. We're going to use the show me function to create this. We're going to go sales and let's go order date. And we're going to do a continuous line. So that's this one right here. And this will give it to me in the highest level of granularity, which is year. We want something a bit more detailed, so I'm going to press that plus button right here. And maybe one more. Yeah, that's good. When we read this, this visualization is basically telling me on January 2018, we made $22,000. In February, we made $13,000. But can you tell me on this date around here, how much have we made since the beginning? That would mean you have to add up this point, this point, this point, this point, and so on until you get to that time period and go, oh, we've made this much money to date. Well, we can use a running total. Typically what I do, especially when training people for the first time, is you can actually add another set of lines. What do I mean by that? If I take sales and I drag it right next to the one I already have, I can have two of them, which is really cool. And the reason I do this when I'm teaching is so that you can see the before and after of what we're about to do. Looking at the second one, I can right click here, and similar to the percent of total that we did for the pies, we're going to go quick table calculation and we're going to go running total. These running totals, there is heaps you can do with this. We will cover this in huge detail. I think it's going to be in the intermediate section, and you'll see all the amazing, freakishly crazy things you can do with this stuff. So we're going to go quick table calculation, running total, and what that's going to do is going to add it up, so it's going to be an accumulative result. Running total. That will only apply to this second one. So the way you read this is this first one is here. This second one is this visualization. You can actually add as many measures as you want here, and it'll keep adding it to the bottom. So if I take quantity, I can put it here, and now I have quantity down here. I can add, maybe not sales, we'll add profit, and I can add profit down there. You can add as many as you like. And one other thing is, I'm just going to get rid of these. We're going to go drag, and then I usually drop it here in the gray just to get rid of it. One of the other things you can do with this, actually 3 is good, is each one can be a different type of visualization. They don't all have to be lines. So over here, you will notice in the mark section, as you add more measures, you'll also see more tabs appear here. Each of these tabs correspond to one of these measures. The first one corresponds to this one, second one corresponds to this one, and the third one corresponds to this one. That means for each set of visualizations I have, for each of the lines, I can do custom formatting for each one as well, and a custom visualization type. If I click on this first one here, I actually don't click here directly. Just a little tip. I actually click up here, and that just guarantees I'm modifying the right one, because sometimes these look the same and you think you're modifying, for example, the first one, which is this, then suddenly this one starts to format, so it can be confusing. So what I tend to do is I just click up here for the one that I'm doing. So if I click on that, I know I'm guaranteed that it's this first one. If I do this, notice this thing is changing every time I click on it, as you can see. So let's start with the first one. I click here. We're gonna make this one a bar. So I'm gonna click here. And we're gonna go bar. So we can actually have a bar and a line. Pretty cool. This second one, which is the running total, you can see that the access value is way higher now because it's taking this number plus this number plus this number all the way to the end. And if you want to test it, take the first two values. So we've got this one, which is, I can see here, $22,814. And this one is $13,639. And if you look at the next point, what is that in my head? What is that? 35-ish. So if I take this one, here we go. And you can see the running sum of sales along table across $36,453. So we can see that this is actually cumulative. The cool thing is when you select one as well, it will actually select all the corresponding data points for each of your other visualizations. So you can actually see all that information in a single line. So you can say that at this time period, November 2019, we made a sale in that month of $81,722 with a quantity of 1,239 units and a running sum to date of 846,000, so on and so forth. So that's really cool. For this middle one, we can format, let's say I want to change the color. So I can change that. And for this last one, if I wanted to make it an area, I can do that too. So that's one of the beauties of being able to add as many measures and doing this. You can squeeze so much more in and they're all on the same time scale, which is great. The next thing we're going to do is a running total, but that is not time-based. Let's do a new sheet. Just clicking on this button down here. And what we're going to do is, instead of, again, a time base, we're just going to choose a normal one. So let's do a bar. So I'm going to start with quantity. Let's do quantity. And I'm going to split this up by subcategory. So when I do that, I have them all as categories. This is not time-based, but I can still do a running total. I can say one plus the other, because there could be an order to this based on whatever data you have. It's really up to you, but I can still apply running total. Let's duplicate this sum of quantity. So I can take this and put another one in. Again, you don't have to do a second one. You can apply running total to this first one if you wish. This is really for training. So you can apply running total here. There's no reason why you couldn't. I like to just do this as a kind of beginner kind of intro to it. So you can see before and after. Sum of quantity for the second one, we right click and we're going to go running total and we can have our running total. So applies here as well. That's your running total. The next one is moving average. Now, not all of you may need moving average, but more often than not, I end up teaching beginners moving average pretty early on in their development. So let's do a fresh one. And I'm going to give a very particular situation. Let's look at quantity. So I'm going to double click that. I've got a quantity bar and I'm going to add in the order date. So double click, but see how this is, oops, hang on, I pressed the wrong button. See how this is blue? That tells me straight away that it's discrete, which is this group right here. I want this to be continuous and you'll see why. This is year. I want to increase the granularity, bit more, bit more, bit more. Okay. I'm doing this on purpose. Sometimes your data is really this messy and you have to try and find insight from this. How on earth do you find a trend or a pattern or anything in data that looks like this? Because if you go backwards and say, let's go quarter, you lose too much of the little ebbs and flows of your data set. When is this important? Think about like investing, stocks, shares, company, tracking, like over very, very small time scales. You need to really be able to see kind of the trend, the general movement of the economy, maybe something like that. So it has a lot of applications. Let's again put this back to day. This is where the moving average really shines. So moving average is also used like in signal processing, acoustic engineering, which I used to do, sound waves, vibration, that kind of stuff. A lot of that comes into it. What we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the sum of quantity first. I'm going to take this and go here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this moving average. So I'm going to right click here, quick table. Instead of running total, we're going to go moving average. And you'll notice that it changes a little bit. I'll get into the mathematics in a second. Then what we're going to do is we're going to increase the time scale of the moving average. And you'll notice this starts to smooth out because it is kind of considered as a smoothing function. I'm going to right click here. I'm going to go edit table calculation. That's going to bring up a little menu. You don't have to worry about anything except this part right here. So if I open this up, I can choose how far back the moving average applies. So if I do this one by one, this is in terms of days, because that's the increment that we've chosen. Notice the line starts to smooth out, and you start to see the general pattern underneath the data. You see that? And it gets smoother and smoother the longer your moving average is applied in terms of a time period. Let's close that. So I've done a 30-day, what's called a 30-day trailing moving average. I can do a leading moving average by just changing this one. So I can go forwards in time if I wanted to. Generally speaking, everyone uses the trailing one because, for example, for stocks, you cannot use future data to predict the past. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So let's close this. Now, this part you don't need to know, but this is just to show you. How is this in here? All right, how is this bottom pattern in here somewhere? Well, again, you don't have to do this, but this is just to demonstrate. I'm going to overlay these two, and I'm going to synchronize them up. And then I'm going to reduce the the opacity. And as you can see, it is almost in the middle of all the lines because that is the underlying pattern of this particular, let's call it a signal. That is the beauty of moving average. I'm going to show you the mathematics now of how it actually does that, and I'll just do it really quickly. What I have here is just Microsoft Excel, and I just took those data points from the really messy pattern, and I just put it into Microsoft Excel. So we have the date and the time period here, and then the quantity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of visualization. I'm going to put a kind of, if you don't know what this is, that's okay. This is really a demonstration. I'm going to put like a conditional format here. So the bars represent the value. So you can see 40 is a much longer bar versus 1, which is a much shorter bar. This, in terms of the bars, is quite erratic. It's kind of all over the place. A moving average, let's say a 5-day moving average, is if I take these 5 values right here and I add them up. So that total is 60 divided by 5. That gives me my that gives me my average value. There is an inbuilt function in Excel that lets me do that. So I just go average and I select the range. So that is my 5-day average. I do that for the next point. So I go average, do it for the next 5, right? So it's shifting one by one. And instead of typing them out, I'm just going to copy this formula all the way down. I can go all the way down like that, like so. And just to show you how the formulas are kind of shifting down, I'm just going to go into formula mode, which basically just shows me the underlying calculations and all the links. You can see that the average moves downwards as they're calculated. That is how the average function works. And it's called moving average because the average is moving. Let's put some bars on this. Let's give it a different color. Let's say purple. What you'll notice is the value is not higher. They're two different scales of length, but you can see it's a lot smoother than this one, and that's what the moving average does. So let's head over back to Tableau. We are back now here in Tableau, and that is how you use moving average. If you struggle with it a little bit, be sure to get in touch with me and I can go into some more detail if you need it, or if you're struggling with just a particular thing, let me know and we can go into that as well privately if you wish. That is it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you at the next video. Thanks for watching the video. If you want to learn the entire Tableau platform, consider enrolling into my course. It's one of the highest ranking courses on Udemy, and enrolling today, you'll be joining the almost 200,000 students that have enjoyed my courses over the years. Thanks again for watching, and hope to see you in the course.